Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I'm, of course, your host, John Campea. It's an honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you guys joining me here as we're talking about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And we got a hell of a lot of stuff to talk about. First of all, Cleveland Browns! Congratulations to the Cleveland Browns. Everybody in this country's been cheering for you. Good on you for getting that win last night. So there you go. All right, guys, we're going to start things off with this. Last night, had the chance to go and watch the new Eli Roth, directed film, A House with a Clock in Its Walls. You got, of course, Jack Black and Cate Blanchett in it. And look, I'm going to tell you what, I was not looking forward to this film. Number one, the trailers have not looked all that intriguing. I understand it's based on some kind of book, but clearly I never read it, so I didn't care. And honestly, seeing like a family-friendly kind of creep film, it felt like it was kind of in the vein of a Goosebumps, which also had Jack Black in it, and I didn't like that film. But the fact that you had Eli Roth directing it, I thought was very odd. You know, sometimes Eli Roth is just amazing. Sometimes he stumbles a bit, like Death Wish that he did with Bruce Willis. But I just didn't see that this movie was a really good fit for him. So I went to go see it last night. What did I think of A House with a Clock in Its Walls? Honestly, not all that bad. I'm going to tell you right up front, though, the absolute best thing about this movie, like when this movie is firing on all cylinders, is the scenes where you have Jack Black and Cate Blanchett in scenes together just talking. I'm telling you what, this movie had a 1 hour and 44 minute runtime. If this movie was 1 hour and 35 minutes of just the two of them talking with some random other 9-minute stuff, I would have enjoyed the film. And you know what? Just like I said, that Eli Roth didn't really feel like a great fit for this movie for me going into it when I was thinking about it. I could not see Cate Blanchett and Jack Black together. Despite the histories in the past, I just could not see the two of them having on-screen chemistry and it working really well. And you know what? It was great. Again, the very best thing about this film was the dynamic and chemistry between Black and Blanchett. And you know what? That brings up something here. Jack Black has gotten better and better and better. Like, it used to be that Jack Black was just this like wild, loud kind of performer and he'd do all this kind of stuff. But you know what? Over the years, and we saw a lot of this in Jumanji, he's learned how to bring subtlety, like when to go wah and when to reel it in, and he's learned subtlety to add to that, and that just adds to his performance. So easily the best part of the film. Connected to that is another thing that I thought worked pretty well with the film, and that was the humor. It's good humor. There were more laughs in the theater that I was in last night than I thought was possible for this movie. Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't an A-list comedy. It wasn't laughs from start to finish, but there were certainly a good amount of humor and good chuckles and good laugh-out-loud moments peppered throughout the film that hit where I've seen a lot of other films like this try to do their humor, and it misses completely. But the humor actually works pretty well in this. The other thing that's pretty good about this movie is this. Eli Roth finds a really good way of balancing a story that has these horrific, dire consequences, and yet manages to tell the story in a very light kind of way that brings you as an audience member along with it. Now, if you've seen the trailers for the film, you know there's this young kid named Lewis whose parents have passed away, and he's sent to go live with his uncle Jonathan, who just happens to be a warlock and lives in this big mysterious house. Unbeknownst to Lewis, the previous owner of the house was an evil warlock who somewhere in the walls of the house hid a magical clock that is counting down, but we don't know what it's counting down to. Dun, dun, dun. So there's the mystery of it. And so the film has these dire consequences, which could be very heavy, like a horror kind of film. And yet, Eli Roth manages to keep it pretty light and pretty engaging. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for A House with a Clock in Its Walls. Number one, this movie tries to be a lighter toned, yes, and funny, family-friendly horror film. Like, they wanted to bring scares. You could tell they were going for scares in this film. Unfortunately for me, nothing that was trying to be scary was ever scary. There's a couple of moments that are a little creepy, and Jack Black says a few times in the movie, creepy, and those are actually pretty well done. But there's a couple of lightly creepy moments. But for the most part, the Goosebumps angle, that slight family-friendly horror angle they tried to take, which can work and can have some success, just kind of basically fell flat. Also, The film has some pacing problems. I mentioned before, it's only an hour and 44-minute long film, but even at an hour and 44 minutes, it felt too long. Like, this is one of those movies that probably should have clocked in at about, no pun intended, clocked in. Anyway, this is a movie that probably should have come in at about an hour and 35 minutes. I just think it would have felt a little bit more crisp and a little bit along the way. Also, I'm going to say this. There's nothing huge to talk about in this movie other than the Jack Black and Cate Blanchett chemistry, which is great. It's not overwhelmingly great humor. It's not super memorable characters. It never takes any element of the film and really does them exceptionally well that would leave you as an audience member walking out of the theater going, I can't wait to watch the next one. I walked out of the theater having been mildly entertained. And I think the Rotten Tomatoes rating on this movie right now kind of shows that. It's a positive rating, but it's in at about 62%. So not great, but not bad. I walked out of the theater mildly entertained, but certainly by no stretch of the imagination did I walk out going, man, I can't wait to watch that again, and I hope they do a sequel. So anyway, to recap, The House with a Clock in Its Walls, or House with a Clock in Its Walls, it does a couple things very well. Number one, the chemistry between Jack Black and Cate Blanchett, surprisingly good humor, and despite the fact that it's a movie that tries to purport really heavy, dire consequences, it manages to maintain a pretty light, entertaining, easy to digest little piece of entertainment. However, there are negative things with the film as well. Starting with the fact that even though it's kind of obvious they're going for some scares and they're going for some spooks, they never really hit it on that level. Also, I didn't mention this otherwise, but there's a villain in the film. Every film has a villain, but even though the villain is alluded to a little bit, he doesn't really come into play until very, very late in the film. And by that point, you can't get invested in the villain at all. So that kind of fell flat. And as I mentioned before, it's a movie that kind of feels slow in some places. Like minute 44 is not too long for a film of this nature, but it was a little bit too long for this specific film. I feel like they should have cut a good 10 minutes of this film out. Might have enjoyed a little bit of a better pace. Overall, A House with a Clock in Its Walls was actually not a bad little time at the theater. I was expecting trash, and I walked out going, you know what? Not bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you should rush out and see it this weekend, but I will say this. If you have been curious about the movie, it's one you might want to check out, so keep that in mind. All right, let's move on to another thing off the top here, which is this. News just came out this morning that Suicide Squad 2 apparently has just taken a big step forward as the screenwriter has come out and basically said they have turned in their draft of the script. They've turned it into the studio. They said they are very, very happy with it. They think it's an exciting script. They think it really hits on all cylinders. And of course, this is the guy who wrote the script. So, take his words with a little bit of a grain of salt. Here's the interesting thing. There's been a lot of speculation and thought about what is the DCEU, or whatever they're calling the DC Cinematic Universe now. What is the DCU doing after Wonder Woman 84? There's been some speculation. They're going to reboot after Wonder Woman 84. And I said, no, I don't think I think they should, but I don't think they're going to. We've got Aquaman coming up in December. Then we got Shazam. We got Wonder Woman. What are they doing? Well, this kind of tells us that for now, they're just planning on moving forward. Because it's clear that Warner Brothers has kept the development going on Suicide Squad 2. Now, just because they turn in a script, I'm not going to get ahead of myself. Just because they turn in a script does not mean that they're about to imminently shoot this movie. Hey, it may never be shot. Just because a script is done doesn't really mean anything. We've seen that happen 1,000 times. But it at least is some sort of indication that Warner Brothers still has an eye on it, and they're still kind of plugging along and moving forward with it at this point. Another little tidbit of news that came out that kind of supports that is there's some news going around that they actually have started screen testing some potential cast members for the Margot Robbie spin-off film with her as Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. So clearly they still have an eye on moving forward with everything. Whether that's a good idea or a bad idea, I don't really know, but at least we do know this. They've kept development going on Suicide Squad 2. Draft of the script has now been turned in. Doesn't say it's the final draft, so maybe there's still more to go. Probably this is one of those situations where they turned in the draft. They're going to get notes from the studio, and then they're go back and do another draft. But hey, doesn't mean it's happening, but at least it looks like things are still kind of moving forward. All right. Let's move on to the next topic. And the next thing here and off the top is this. We've known for some time that Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson, who of course were just recently on screen together in Thor Ragnarok as the Revengers, as Valkyrie and Thor, of course. Well, they are starring, we've known for a long time, they're starring in a new Men in Black spinoff that we don't have an official title for yet, but they are starring in that. And production is underway. And Chris Hemsworth took to his social media to put out the first official, well, I guess you can't call it official picture, but the first look at them as their Men in Black characters in the movie. My favorite thing about this picture is if you look under Chris Hemsworth's description, he's got the hashtag Revengers for Life. I'm going to tell you right now, I laughed out loud when I saw that. I literally just chuckled out loud when I saw that. Now, there was some speculation that Tessa Thompson wouldn't actually be one of the Men in Black. This picture, though, I think kind of puts that speculation to rest. I mean, she's wearing the white suit and the black tie. I don't know how much further, the white shirt and the black tie, that's kind of going along with it. We see Hemsworth in there as well. So clearly things are moving along, and I dig the picture. But I got to say, I think I'm even more happy about the hashtag Revengers for Life part of the picture than I am about anything else. Now, look, Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth are not the only people appearing in this film. This film has got a pretty solid little cast coming together for it. And, we started talking about Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson is playing in this. We got Rebecca Ferguson, who, of course, has been playing recently in the Mission Impossible films. We got Kumail Nanjiani, who from The Big Sick, which was one of the best surprise films I've seen in years. And you got Emma Thompson coming back. And the reason that's so key is because Emma Thompson is reprising her role as Agent O. Of course, she played Agent O in Men in Black 3. So that kind of just puts an explanation point on the notion that this Men in Black is not a reboot. This isn't a rebooted Men in Black. This is indeed a spin-off, and having Emma Thompson there just kind of becomes that anchor for the continuity going from one series of the films into the next. So it's going to be interesting to see how that kind of plays out. I'm looking forward to this. I am. I don't know if this is going to be any good. Let's be honest, Chris Hemsworth has been in one or two bad films. Black Hat, anybody? Anyway, but I think this is an interesting idea. Let's see how this team kind of works out. Okay, with that stuff out of the way, let's get on to our main topics of the day. Now, what are our main topics today? It's simple. It's emails and topics that you guys email into me. How do you send them into me? It's easy. You just email me at john@thejohncampeashow.com. Put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep those emails to 90 words or less. All right, with that out of the way, let's get on to the first email topic today. And the first emailed in topic today comes to us from Scott, who writes, with the week of December 21st becoming jam-packed, do you see a studio making a deal with MoviePass to help them win the weekend? Red Sparrow got hurt by Death Wish's deal with MoviePass. I am surprised so many studios would be so confident in their movie to think it will beat out the rest and not get hurt by the heavy competition. All right, thanks a lot for the email, Scott. Well, first of all, the heavy competition thing, let's remember there is a big extenuating circumstance there. That weekend of December 21st is one of the highest movie-attended weekends of the year. Is there a lot of competition? Yes. But there's also a lot of people going to the movies that weekend, so it kind of balances it out a little bit. But even I agree, there's too much. There's too much opening on that one weekend. I mean, dear heavens, there's an 8-day window. An 8-day window in December with no fewer than 8 major films opening up. Because we've got the opening on December 14th, we've got Mortal Engines. Also on the 14th, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Mary Poppins on the 19th, which is just wrecking the party for everybody. And then on the 21st, we got Alita Battle Angel. We got Bumblebee. We got Aquaman. We got Holmes and Watson. We got Welcome to Marwen. This is a very, very congested date. It's a huge date. So what Scott's wondering is, hey, every once in a while, MoviePass does these deals with certain movies where MoviePass will promote a certain movie on their app to try to get more people to go to it. Should they do something like that here? Could they do that with an Aquaman? Could they do that with a Welcome to Marwen? Could they do that with one of those films? Because, as Scott points out, they very famously did that on the weekend that Death Wish, the Bruce Willis Death Wish, and Jennifer Lawrence Red Sparrow opened up. Death Wish gave MoviePass a bunch of money. MoviePass promoted Death Wish on their app like crazy, and they pulled the underhanded move of not allowing MoviePass members to select Red Sparrow to see. That was the shady part. That was really underhanded of MoviePass. Nothing wrong with them making a deal with Death Wish to promote their film, but on top of that, they blanked out Red Sparrow for a lot of MoviePass users. So if you were a MoviePass user and you wanted to go see Red Sparrow, you couldn't use your MoviePass to go see Red Sparrow. because Death Wish gave us some money. That was shady and underhanded. Now, Scott points out that hurt Red Sparrow, but did it? Did it really hurt Red Sparrow all that much? Did it really benefit Death Wish all that much? I mean, when we go and we look at the death match from that, get it, death match, from that opening weekend, I mean, look, even with MoviePass's big push, even with MoviePass promoting their film and pushing their film and trying to blacklist Red Sparrow, Death Wish, a recognizable IP, an action film with Bruce Willis in the lead, was never going to make $70 million opening weekend, but it still only made $13 million. I mean, it still could only come in at $13 million. And Red Sparrow, which also was a movie that was never going to open to $50 million or anything like that, it still managed to beat it. An unknown property that, wasn't an action film per se, didn't, its marketing did not win a lot of people over. And yet, even though Death Wish had the deal with MoviePass, Red Sparrow still ended up winning that weekend. So did the MoviePass deal make a difference? I would guess that it made a difference. I would go ahead and say that, yeah, a difference was made. But did it create a night and day difference? No. So I don't know that any of these films that are opening up in that 8-day window in December are going to be climbing over themselves to make a deal with MoviePass. But there's a bigger thing to keep in mind here about why this wouldn't work. MoviePass right now is trying to get their users to use their card as little as possible. Every change in their rules and policy have been about limiting how much their subscribers actually use the card. What MoviePass does not want to do is make a deal with Aquaman and all of a sudden have 1 million people use MoviePass to go see Aquaman, because that is just going to make them even more bankrupt than they already are. So it just seems like right now MoviePass is in this mode of trying to get people to use their card less. So I don't know that they'd be entering into any deals that would try to encourage their users to use the card more, because every time a user uses their card, they lose money because they've had this terrible model for so long. So I don't think that's what's going to happen. I don't think when we've seen it happen in the past that it showed that it had that great of results. So I'm going to go ahead and guess no. All right, let's move on to the next email. And the next email today comes to us from RM Loner, who writes, with the news that Michael B. Jordan is going to be playing the Tom Clancy character John Clark in an upcoming film, has the Clancy cinematic universe begun? Because I'd love to see him and John Krasinski together. All right, so there is this character. For those of you who have not heard, Michael B. Jordan has indeed signed up to sign in on a Tom Clancy movie, because there's more than just Jack Ryan in the Tom Clancy universe, and Michael B. Jordan's going to be playing this key character named John Clark. Now, John Clark is in a lot of Tom Clancy novels, and he has been played on the big screen before by a couple of very notable people. He was obviously played by Willem Dafoe in the Harrison Ford Tom Clancy movies, and he was played by Liev Schreiber in the Ben Affleck version of Jack Ryan. So there's at least 2 new movies coming out. One is going to be Rainbow Six, I think that's the one it is. Anyway, so apparently Michael B. Jordan is going to be starting as Clark in that movie. I think it's great. And I also like the fact that they seem to be going for a younger Clark at this point, a slightly younger Clark, because I think that tells us they do want this to be a franchise. They do want this thing to go on for multiple films, because from what I understand, the initial deal is a 2-film deal. So it's going to be Rainbow Six, and I believe they've already said what the second one would be, but I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So I like that. It's a good move. And look, Michael B. Jordan, he's not some young, spunky up-and-comer anymore. And I understand, it feels like just yesterday that this kid, Michael B. Jordan, was in this movie Chronicles, and he was amazing in it. Who's this kid, Michael B. Jordan? It feels like that was just yesterday. But Michael B. Jordan, in just a very tiny window of time, has moved on to become a really established, respected name in this business. I mean, hell, for just the last couple of years, you're looking at notable films that he's been in, like he's gone from Chronicle, then he did Fruitvale Station, which a lot of people thought he could have gotten an Academy Award nomination for. And you're not going to get any argument out of me. He could have gotten an Academy Award nomination for that. Then he's in Creed. And everybody loves Creed. And then he's in Black Panther, and everybody loved him in Black Panther. He's got Creed 2 coming out. Yeah, you may not have liked, and you and I may not have liked Fantastic Four, but it was still another high-profile project that people wanted to go and get him in it. So he's come a long way from just being this kind of unknown kid in Chronicle to now being this huge major star that a lot of people and franchises are lining up to get him in. Now, as far as whether or not we'd get a shared universe of Michael B. Jordan as Clark and John Krasinski as Jack Ryan, my understanding, what I've heard is the television rendition of the Jack Ryan stuff and the movie rendition stuff that we've got going on now with Michael B. Jordan are two separate universes. From what I've been told, those are two separate things and they're not going to cross over. But hey, never say never. Nothing's impossible. We'll see what kind of turns out from this. All right, let's move on to the third email today. And the third email today comes to us from Jessica Colon, who writes, Netflix has confirmed that Daredevil Season 3 will drop on October 19th, which makes me wonder if its release date was moved up due to Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Iron Fist being poorly received by critics and fans. What are your thoughts? Yeah, thanks a lot. First of all, great news that came out yesterday. I remember I was doing the John Campea show yesterday when the news dropped. And one of you guys, one of the viewers, put into the chat, they just announced October 19th. I'm thrilled. I was really hoping that we were going to find out Netflix was going to, because normally you announce a release date and it's some time away. They announced a release date for Daredevil Season 3, 1 month away. And we're all, and collectively there was great joy among the people, right? We were all super stoked. So the question that Jessica's asking is it possible that they were looking at release? Because remember, there was a lot of buzz going around that they were going to release this thing in December, right? And there was even a possibility they may have bumped it into January. So now it comes out of nowhere, October. Jessica asks a reasonable question. Do we think it's possible they moved up the date? Because even though a lot of people liked the first season of Jessica Jones, I didn't. A lot of people were not as big on Jessica Jones Season 2. I thought Luke Cage Season 2 was quite bad. Had some highlights in it, but just not great. Iron Fist Season 2 was better than Iron Fist Season 1, and I'll say it's not terrible. It's actually still not, I wouldn't say it's a good season, but it's not bad. It's not bad. And you know, we were in an era of time when it just seemed like the Netflix Marvel stuff was the greatest stuff on TV, right? Because we had Daredevil Season 1 and 2, we had Punisher. I mean, they even did the Defenders. Not everybody loved the Defenders. I liked the Defenders. I thought the Defenders was good. And then they put out then they had Iron Fist, which was just garbage, and Luke Cage Season. Anyway, is it possible that they were going to release Daredevil a little bit later, but decided to move it up to get some positive momentum going again, to maybe counter some of the negativity coming out of the other shows? Let me say this. I think it's possible, but I doubt it. I have a feeling Netflix probably was always aiming for this October release date. Now, I don't know that. I'm just speculating. Again, Jessica, what you're proposing here very well could be the case. Maybe they were going to release it in December, although I don't know that they would have wanted to release it too close to the release of Runaways Season 2, which releases on December 21st. Yes, another Marvel show that's releasing on the same day of release as a DC movie, but there you go. They probably didn't want to release Daredevil Season 2 too close to Runaways Season 2. But yeah, I mean, from a PR point of view, what you're suggesting has merit. It's possible. I don't think likely, though. I probably do think that Netflix was always planning on this release date, and I think they wanted to do the big, and it's coming in just a few weeks. I think that was probably always the plan, but you never know. What you're suggesting is plausible. What do you guys think? Do you think that Netflix was originally planning to release this show later, and they moved it earlier to kind of counteract some of the negative buzz from some of the previous seasons? Or do you think, like I do, that no, it was just always planned for this date? Jump into the comments section. I want to hear your thoughts and theories. All right, let's move on to the last email of the day. And the last email today comes to us from Theodore Long, who writes, Hello, John. Was wondering, where is Edge of Tomorrow 2? It's been 4 years already and really haven't heard much about it. Are they still making it? All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, Edge of Tomorrow 2 is a movie that I really want to see. You know, Edge of Tomorrow is one of the worst marketed films in history. That was a brutal, awful marketing campaign they had for that movie. It did not communicate at all the great stuff that was in that movie. It also was very misleading. It made it feel like it was some deep... Anyway, it was a bad marketing campaign. The movie did not have a marvelous opening weekend, but thankfully word got out that it's really a great movie, and so it had some legs. It did pretty well, but not as well as it should have done because it's such a great movie. Anyway, immediately people start talking about doing a sequel. Where's Edge of Tomorrow 2? They have tried to get this thing going a number of times. The big roadblock has often been, though, actors' schedules. Emily Blunt was asked about this a couple of months ago, and she specifically said this. Emily Blunt said, "They asked me to do it with 2 months before I started Mary Poppins. Tom Cruise was like, 'Can you go this autumn?' And I was like, 'No, I can't go. I'm playing Mary Poppins for like a year, dude. I can't do Edge of Tomorrow.' Doug Liman, that's the director of the film, has got an awesome idea, and he's excited, and they just need to write it. There has been a script, but now I gather there's another one in the works." So it appears like last fall, they wanted to start shooting an Edge of Tomorrow 2 like last fall. Unfortunately, that's not something that she was able to do because she had this little film called Mary Poppins that she was going to be doing. That was obviously her priority. Now, it sounded like there wasn't the final completed script yet, but it sounded like they were getting close. They had their idea. They had one draft, and now they were working on another draft. Now, again, this was just a couple of months ago. What do their schedules look like now? Could we be getting close to something like this now? Well, as far as Emily Blunt goes, there is a little bit of an open in her schedule. Now, she's got Mary Poppins coming out, and she's got the new film with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jungle Cruise. But both of those films are done. She's finished shooting on both of those films. They're done. And she has nothing else listed as upcoming on her IMDb. Now, Tom Cruise, he's got Top Gun 2 coming. That's in production right now. And then he's got this other little film coming called Luna Park. This is some adventure thing that takes place on the moon. But there's really not a lot of information about it on IMDb, so it may not be very far along. In other words, Tom Cruise might be available as well. So are these openings in Blunt's schedule and Tom Cruise's schedule an indication to us that these guys could be getting ready to go in and start doing Edge of Tomorrow 2? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, we got to acknowledge all we're doing at this point is just speculating. It's possible, but I haven't heard anything officially about any more movement. But what is clear is this. Tom Cruise still wants to make Edge of Tomorrow 2. Doug Liman still wants to make Edge of Tomorrow 2. And it looks like Emily Blunt is very interested in doing Edge of Tomorrow 2. There seems to be an opening in their schedules coming up. Maybe we're going to hear about something soon. I will say this, though. They have to get it done sooner rather than later. You don't want to wait too awful long before you jump in and get this thing done, because the further away you get from the original, more and more people are going to start forgetting about it. Or, it's not going to be as fresh in their minds how great that first one was. So here's hoping they get rolling on this thing fairly soon. All right, guys, that will do it for the emailed in topics today. We're going to save some time now and go over and take some of your live questions. You guys have already been firing in a bunch of them. So let's go over there right now and see what you guys are talking about in the live chat. And we're going to get things going. Wrong button. We're going to get things going with Technovine, who writes, "So without Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos is just strong and smart." Well, sure, if you want to say, so without the green skin, Hulk is just strong? That kind of underplays it a little bit, Technovine. It kind of underplays that just a little bit. He's incredibly powerful. I mean, he's referred to in Guardians of the Galaxy. Remember when Korath was like, "Thanos is the most powerful being in the galaxy," and that was even before he had any Infinity Stones. So, intelligence and maybe being the mightiest character in the galaxy? I don't know that we can just write that off as being, so he's just strong and smart. I think it's a little bit more than that. But hey, we'll see. Technovine follows up with, "Get that 1/10 scale Thanos from Iron Studios, John." I'm telling you what, I haven't seen the Iron Studios one. Sideshow has this like 4-foot tall statue of Thanos. And I'm not going to lie. I have thought about buying it with the business's money to have as a set piece on set. It is so beautiful. Guys, if you have not seen it, go to Sideshow Collectibles website and look for the statue. Not the hot toy. Not the hot toy, because Hot Toys is on the Sideshow website. But don't look for the hot toy Thanos. Look for the Sideshow Thanos. It's crazy. and maybe it's the same one we're talking about, Technovine, but whatever, go and check it out because it is crazy beautiful. Luke1234 writes, could you please upload the anniversary as a Christmas gift to your fans? I am probably very shortly going to be uploading the anniversary for my Patreon supporters. Again, temper your expectations. Look, I'm very proud of the anniversary. You know, it's funny, I had lunch 2 days ago with my friend Erin Cummings, who I did an interview in here with a little while ago. I was in Hollywood and she was like right around the corner, so we got together and have lunch, and she, of course, is in my movie, The Anniversary, and we talked a little bit about Anniversary. I'm very, very proud of it. Just for those of you who are my Patreon supporters, and I am going to be uploading it soon for you guys to watch, just temper your expectations. This is not a Hollywood production. This is some, you know, moron from Canada who didn't know what the hell he was doing and just kind of got some cameras and some good people together and shot something. That's all it is. But I am very proud of it. I'm glad I did it. It gave me a really great appreciation for the job of directors and the job of writers and producers. And I think it gave me a much better perspective in talking about the movie industry because I went ahead and made my own movie. And that was the real value in it for me. But yeah, I will be uploading it soon for those of you who are my Patreon supporters. Jaron Morris writes, hey, John, want to say love all that you do and thank you and the film community. So my question is, when it's all said and done in Supernatural, do you think both Sam and Dean both live when Supernatural is done, or maybe just one? I think they both live. Now, we just saw CW end one of their other shows, because Supernatural is a CW show. We just saw CW end another one of their shows with the death of the major characters. And I don't think you want to do that. Because when you've got a series that is now going on its 14th season, you maybe you never do anything with it again once the series is over, but you at least want to leave the door open that, hey, if you ever wanted to come back and do something with it again, you've left some opportunity for you to do it. I think the boys get their happily ever after. Because that's been a running theme with Supernatural, that they've both been robbed of a real life. Their whole life, they have been robbed of a real life. I mean, the show starts with Sammy trying to live a normal life. He's going to college, he's got a girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. But one of the big themes of the show that they're constantly coming back to is that neither of them have ever been allowed to have happiness. They revisit that theme a lot. Remember the one time Dean had the girlfriend, he lived with her, she had a son, he was like a son to him, and he couldn't keep it. He couldn't have it. One of the running themes of the show has been they're being robbed of happiness and robbed of a real life. I think whenever Supernatural ends, it will end with them being able to have those things. That's what I think. So that's just my guess. We'll have to wait and see. Toonie2 writes, just saw the Stan and Ollie trailer. Oh, yeah. As a Laurel and Hardy fan, I'm excited. What did you think? We talked about this a little bit on Open Mic yesterday. I think it's a wonderful trailer. It's a wonderful trailer. And the thing that excited me most about it is the fact that, you know, John C. Reilly, we all think of John C. Reilly now, and we think of him in terms, and this is totally understandable, but we think of him in terms of being the comedy yuck guy. We often forget he's a good dramatic actor. You know, I talked a little bit of this. My actual favorite performance of his, and it's not a big role, it's a smaller role, but I think my favorite performance of his was in that George Clooney, Mark Wahlberg film, A Perfect Storm. You know, remember the one based on the true story where they're fishermen on a boat and they got caught in the worst storm in history? The ending of that film, and it's a true story, you should know the ending, so spoiler alert, but this is the ending of the film. The boat finally gets capsized, and it's starting to sink. A couple of guys, including John C. Reilly's character, are stuck below deck. So they're stuck, they can't get out. And the boat's starting to sink, and the water where they're in is rising and rising and rising. And it is one of the most chilling last lines from a character in a movie I've ever heard. As the water's getting up to their chin and they're inevitably about to go underwater, and they know they're going to die. John C. Reilly turns to the other character, and his final line in it is, "This is going to be really hard on my kid." Oh, and it's the way he said it, and the way, first of all, the line is brilliant. And the way he delivered the line was brilliant. And I remember walking out of that film the first time I saw it, and I was haunted by that scene. And it's been with me ever since. How long ago was that? Like 12 years ago? I can't remember how long ago that movie was, but that one line has haunted me and been with me ever since. And to see a John C. Reilly now in a movie like this is very exciting. It's very exciting, and I love the trailer, and I'm very curious to see how this turns out. All right, Sebastian writes, creativity and subjectivity are closely linked. Anyone can create. Anyone can have an opinion. Both are precious to the individual and should be valued. Oh, absolutely. First of all, I think a lot of people are starting to get the idea of subjectivity, particularly in film and art. Not everything is subjective, but everything in film and art is. And people all get that. But I think there's a lot of people out there who rob themselves, who don't think of themselves as creative. Let me tell you something. I may not know you personally, but I'm going to tell you right now, you have the capacity in you because you are a living, breathing human being. You have the capacity in you to create and to be creative. Some people are more creative than others, yes, but you have the capacity to be creative. If you've ever had an idea or a dream or a goal or something, maybe don't quit your job and pursue, but try being creative. I think everybody at some point, maybe just as a hobby, something on the side, but at some point, everybody should get involved in trying to create something. Maybe it's writing something. Maybe it's drawing something. Maybe it's something about ideas. Maybe, I don't know. But I think everybody has the capacity to be creative, and I think everybody would be happier if they, just sectioned out a little bit of time in their life to explore and exercise their creativity, no matter how big or small their own creative gift is. I think everybody would be happier if they try to explore and exercise their creative gift, because you have it. You really do. Try exploring it and see what you come up with. All right. Preston Walden writes, Jennifer Garner Instagram video of her reading to kids at a daycare is the greatest thing you'll see today. Thought you would like to know. Okay, I heard something about this, but I still not seen it. And you guys all know I go gaga for Jennifer Garner. Jennifer Garner to me is like, yeah, she's the best. Every time anything with Jennifer Garner happens, it just reminds me that Jennifer Garner is the best. I love Jennifer Garner, and I'm desperate to watch that. So that's the first thing I'm going to do when the show's over today, is I'm going to go check that out. All right, Mason Barr writes, what else is releasing on October 5th in theaters? My local theater isn't showing Venom in Dolby Vision. I may have to settle for IMAX 2D. I can't decide. Help. Well, the easiest thing, whenever you want to know what's opening up on a date, the best thing to do is go to Box Office Mojo. Wait, Box Office is about box office, not release schedules. Well, actually, if you go to Box Office Mojo, on the left-hand menu bar, there's a thing called release schedules. And they have a wonderfully laid out release schedule. So let's see, October 5th. Oh, a big one. A Star is Born. I forgot about that. Bradley Cooper, Lady Gaga's A Star is Born. No, that's getting a lot of Oscar buzz already because it's played at a couple of film festivals. Two very different demographics that those movies are going for, but that one might be getting the Dolby Cinema thing. And the weekend before, you got Smallfoot and Night School coming out, and then the week after, you got Bad Times at the El Royale, First Man, and Goosebumps 2. So that's going to be a good couple of weeks. Star is Born and Venom, followed by Bad Times at the El Royale and First Man. That's a pretty good little window for movie fans, too, if you want to check that out. Preston Walden writes, December 14th through 21st can see all the movies with A-List and with $5 Tuesdays at AMC for Stubbs members. That's $10 for 8 films in 2 weeks. Merry Christmas. Yeah, because with A-List you can do 3 movies in a week. So that gives you 6 movies there. And then do a couple on $5 Tuesday nights and you've got 8 movies. You got 8 movies for $10. That is a pretty... And these are all... I'm telling you what. All the movies in that window... Right, all the movies in that window of time here that are opening up, starting on the 14th and bringing it up again. Mortal Engine, Spider-Man, Mary Poppins, Alita, Aquaman, Bumblebee, Holmes & Watson, Welcome to Morrowind. I am looking forward to all of these films. I'm not saying they're all going to be good, but I, at the very minimum, am looking forward to all of them. So, yeah, that's a good way to see all of them, Preston. Good math. Trail Shredder 1 writes... with the new DC Universe app, I'm a 10-year-old kid again. Can't wait to see what Disney brings to the streaming table. Yeah, so the DC app is now up and live. I have not subscribed to it. I was going to. And then I saw the Teen Titans trailer, and I decided I was going to wait until there's more on it. But there is a lot of old curated stuff on it. They don't really have a bunch of original stuff running at this point. But I am very fascinated about this Swamp Thing project they got going. I lost all interest in the Titans one when I saw that trailer at Comic-Con. I'm like, oh my God, this looks horrible. But I'm very curious about this Swamp Thing they're putting together. So at some point, I will jump on board with this DC streaming service and check it out. But to me right now, it's not really worth it. But if you're really into that, a lot of that curated stuff, and then that's perfect for you. So that's awesome, Trell. I'm glad you're enjoying it so far. Let's see what Marvel offers when it comes around, and let's see what else DC starts to add to this streaming service. All right, History Soup writes, in trailer, Coulson had Tintin hair. Actually, yeah, you know what? That really was Tintin hair. That's a good observation. Sebastian writes, I have a special needs daughter. I screen movies in advance to ensure they are appropriate. That's good parenting right there. I'm overprotective. A-List took the stress out. I screened House with the Clock in Its Walls, and she will love it. You know what? That is another benefit of A-List that I don't think we ever talk about. It takes a lot of the expense out, and now you can just, without any additional expense, you can go and pre-screen a movie that you want. And you know what? That's good parenting right there. If you have any questions about whether or not a movie's good for your kid, the dedication you have to your kid to say, you know, I'm going to go watch it first to make sure it's going to be something she'll enjoy and that I think it's appropriate for her to see. I think that's great. That's awesome. And yet another really good benefit of A-List. Good way to put that to use, Sebastian. Aviator 986 writes, JJ, both seasons not too bad. You're talking about Jessica Jones. Slightly underrated. Luke Cage season 1 good. Season 2 Bushman exception, but sucked. I agree with that. Infinity War or Iron Fist season 1 sucked. Season 2 much better improvement. I did not like Jessica Jones season 1. I wanted to, didn't like it. I actually thought Jessica Jones season 2 was slightly better, but even then I didn't like it. Luke Cage season 1 was pretty good. The first half, when you had Cottonmouth, was much better than the second half, but still overall, not bad. I like Luke Cage. You're right. Bushmaster, or whatever they called him in season 2, great villain. Great villain. I liked him. However, that's not enough to make a show good. And I just didn't like anything else about it. And which is really unfortunate. And I agree with you. Infinity War, Iron Fist season 2. I'm still not willing to say it's good, but it's not bad. It certainly has and I'll tell you this too. My favorite part, I've mentioned this before, of Iron Fist season 2, which I thought was a great dynamic, was the whole sub story going on between Ward and Joy, the brother and sister. I loved that side story. I thought that was my favorite part of the season, to be honest with you. I think Davos was a good character, but they went a little bit too far with him. The martial arts, the action sequences were definitely an improvement over the action sequences in season 1. Still had some pretty strong shortcomings, whatever, but you know what? Definitely improvement, and not bad, not bad. Patrick Conway writes, what would be more exciting if Taika Waititi or Kenneth Branagh was announced as the executive producer of the Loki series? Maybe. It depends. Like, I never get too radically excited about who are named as producers. Like, even when Martin Scorsese stepped in and was acted as a producer to get that whole thing going for the Joker movie, yeah, that's great. But he's not directing it. And whenever you hear somebody's producing something, you never know how much they're going to be involved. You can literally have a guy who makes one phone call to connect somebody to the movie and they get a producer credit. I mean, that's not the normal thing, but that happens. Steven Spielberg has his name as a producer on a lot of films that he basically did next to nothing on. So I got to say, while I would love to hear, all other things being equal, I'd love to hear Taika Waititi or Kenneth Branagh being involved with Loki. I wouldn't get too tremendously excited about it because who knows, if they were named as a producer of the show, I would have no idea how much they would actually be involved. So if I heard they were directing episodes, that would be something completely different. Sebastian writes, if okay, does your graphics guy have contact info? I just look, I'm not going to give out his info, but his name is Ray Ora. So if you want to look him up and touch base with him, go ahead. But I don't have permission to give out his contact information, so I'm not going to do that. Kara Black writes, it was announced yesterday that the psychological villain, John Deegan, a.k.a. Dr. Destiny, will be the villain in the crossover, talking about the CW Arrowverse crossover episodes that are happening this year. I remember him from the original Justice League animated series. Yeah, and he's being played by the actor... he was in Lost. I'm forgetting his name. And then he was in season 3, I believe, of Sleepy Hollow. And he was in and he did voices for some of the DC animated stuff as well. And I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. What I wasn't clear on, Kara, what I wasn't clear on was whether they were saying he was the prime villain. I know he's going to be there. But what the stories did not make clear was whether he was yet another character in the crossover or whether he was like the villain of the crossover. That part I wasn't really clear on. I would think that when you're crossing over Arrow with Flash, with Supergirl, maybe your main antagonist needs to be a metahuman. It needs to be a superpowered being. But maybe not. Maybe not. We'll have to see. But that was very interesting. But I was kind of, and I'm frustrated that I'm drawing a blank on his name, but I was kind of excited to see the actor who would play him because I really like him. Even though Sleepy Hollow, the final season of Sleepy Hollow was really rather crappy, I loved him in it, and I've always kind of dug him as an actor, so it's going to be curious to see him there. I just don't know how big or small of a role his character is going to play in the crossover, so we're going to have to wait and see. I'll have to get some more information. Sebastian writes, based off Ragnarok, Men in Black is a great pairing chemistry. No, seriously, that was one of the first things when they announced that Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth are together. I was very pleased because I really did like the chemistry between the two of them in Thor Ragnarok. And I love Tessa Thompson, and I'm a huge Chris Hemsworth fan. Again, if you want to know how good of an actor Chris Hemsworth is, watch Rush, that he did with Daniel Bruhl and Ron Howard directed. He's amazing in it. He's fantastic in it. Solid actor, and you're right. I love their chemistry together in Ragnarok. I'm looking forward to seeing what it's going to be like in Men in Black. Robert Johnson writes, I have no doubt that Eric Killmonger would be Magneto 2.0 if he became a mutant. Do we know that his mother's maiden name isn't Leshner? Nerd. Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny, though? Somebody brought up the other day, I think it was during the Weekly Hero with me and Robert Meyer Burnett, somebody brought up on the Weekly Hero asking, hey, with these limited series that Marvel is doing, with one for Loki, one for Scarlet Witch, and others, could Killmonger be one of those? And I doubt they would do Killmonger, number one, because he's already a dead character. That doesn't mean you couldn't do a prequel, but how many prequels are you going to do? Because it looks like the Loki one's already probably going to be a prequel. Plus, Michael B. Jordan, I don't know. He just seems to be getting busier. I don't know that Michael B. Jordan would come back to do a series. And I know he didn't sign a multi-film deal. I think one of the reasons he took the Marvel gig was because it wasn't a multi-film deal. But that doesn't mean they couldn't approach him and say, hey, we've got this idea for a series. Here's our script. And he might go, oh my God, I love this. Yes, let's do it. It's possible. I'm just doubting that he has the time for it. And I don't think they'd want to get in the habit of everything being prequels. Everything being prequels. So I doubt it. But it's certainly a possibility. Brandon Martin writes, Fury and Coulson as Skrulls to explain fake deaths. Well, no, the Fury one, you didn't have to explain the fake death because he never actually died. They just tried. It was a fake death because they tried to tell the audience, oh no, Nick Fury's dead. And then later, oh no, he's alive. Yay. Fake death, fake death, fake death, fake death. That's all Marvel does. Fake death. Anyway, no, they've gone over Coulson's DNA in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He would have been revealed as a Skrull, so that's not really a possibility. And I don't think Nick Fury is one either. I really don't. Somebody the other day, though, suggested to me maybe Maria Hill, played by Colby Smulders. Maybe Maria Hill is a Skrull. And I'm like, you know what? That's possible. She's a significant, recognizable character in the MCU. That's not one of the big major names, but she's a significant character in the MCU. She's a perfect candidate to be a Skrull. Then again, we're all making these assumptions that Skrulls are around today. For all we know, Captain Marvel deals with the Skrull issue in the movie Captain Marvel, and the Skrull issue is done. Right? A lot of people seem to be forgetting that she actually deals with the Skrull issue in Captain Marvel, and that's not an issue anymore today. But if they say Skrulls are still around today, and, assuming humans' place in our society, Maria Hill's not a bad option for that. Robert Johnson writes, the MCU should troll S.H.I.E.L.D. fans by bringing back Coulson, only to later reveal that Coulson is a Skrull and not the one from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, well, I'm not sure that's how Skrulls work. I don't think Skrulls work that way. I think they completely replace people. I don't think they just run around with them at the same time. Or you know what? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But I don't know. I don't think they want to do that. At least I don't think they will. Maybe. Oh man, now you're messing with people's heads, Roberts. Now you're just messing with people's heads. Sir Ivan Bennett writes, have you watched Luke Cage Season 2? Bushmaster was a total badass villain, and Alfre Woodward was no joke. Well, no, okay, you know what? I said a little bit earlier, the only really good thing about Luke Cage Season 2 was Bushmaster. I take that back. I stand corrected. Alfre Woodward is really good in it. Unfortunately, not in there enough for me, and didn't play a big enough role in it for me. To elevate Luke Cage Season 2 from a bad season to a good season. It wasn't enough. But I stand corrected, Seer. Yes, Alfre was definitely a very strong part of that season. And those are probably the two elements that kept Luke Cage Season 2 from being absolute trash. Because honestly, without those two, that's not just a bad season of TV, it was trash. But they are in there, so it's just not good, unfortunately. But that's just my opinion. You guys might have seen it and loved it. But I agree with your assessments here. Sebastian writes, great point on asking for what you're worth. Open mic. That's right. I was saying before, look, we should never, like anybody in business, actors or otherwise, you should never feel bad about asking for what you're worth. And I would never hold it against any actor or anything for asking for what they're worth. Now, we were talking about, I think Henry Cavill was the topic. I have no problem if Henry Cavill feels he is worth a certain amount of money and wants to ask for that. I have no problem with that. But I also have no problem if a studio goes, okay, but we don't feel we'll be financially responsible if we were to give you that amount. We need to act financially responsible, or else we're losing a lot of money, and we can't do that. I respect that as well. And sometimes you're going to have situations where you have what you're able to do versus what an actor wants and feels they're worth, and they're just not compatible. That happens. And nobody's to blame. And I do not subscribe to this big fan theory of just pay them whatever they want. No, that's irresponsible. And that's not the way to do things. Just pay them. That's just pay them. Just pay the man. No, that's not how you do business. That's not how you do business. But again, I have no qualms at all with a Chris Pine asking for what he thinks he's owed or what he thinks he's worth. I have no problem with a Henry Cavill asking for what he's worth. I have no problem with a Will Smith, who often has really outrageous demands, but he feels that's what he's worth. I have no problem with them asking for that. But then at the flip side of the coin, I also have no problems with the studio going, that's outside of what we feel we can do. I have no problem with the studio saying that either and being financially responsible. So yeah, it goes both ways. Brandon Martin writes, could the Scarlet Witch series be a prequel so we get Aaron Taylor Johnson as Quicksilver again? It's possible. I don't think Aaron Taylor Johnson's doing a whole hell of a lot right now, so that's possible. He's certainly not doing another Kick-Ass movie. Again, it goes to the old problem. Are we going to do another prequel? It already looks like we got Captain Marvel as a prequel. It looks like it looks like Loki will probably be a prequel. I don't think they're resurrecting him again, although I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but I don't think they are. So it looks like Loki's going to be a prequel. And now we're talking about Scarlet Witch one being a prequel. I mean, I hope it doesn't become just all prequel stuff. But what you're suggesting is plausible. Because, we only got Quicksilver for one movie. Maybe there's a hunger out there to see Aaron Taylor Johnson come back as Quicksilver some more. Maybe they got a really cool idea for a story. But then you'd be getting into an era, it wouldn't be a Quicksilver story. And it wouldn't be a Scarlet Witch story, because if you're going to do a prequel, it would be them without their powers. So it'd just be a brother or sister living in Sokovia. I'm going to go shopping today, you know? So I don't know I'm not just quite sure what stories there are to tell there. So, because we already know from Avengers Age of Ultron that they had never actually been put out into the field. Like in that opening battle sequence in Avengers Age of Ultron, that's the first time Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver get out there and use their powers. They've never been out in the field before. So if you do a prequel, I'm not quite sure what you do. But it's an interesting thought. It's something we got to think about. Okay, Robert Johnson writes, have you heard the new MGK album yet? Nope, no interest. I think he sucks. Mike Thompson writes, Browns win. I know, right? I mean, thank goodness they got that monkey off their back. Browns win. Browns win. And you know what? They've played pretty good this season. They easily could have been 3-0 right now. They lost the one game. They had the one tie. But I'm telling you what, they played well in both of those games. And they could have won both those games. So instead of being 1-0-1 right now, they've been very close to being 3-0. I think the Browns win 5 games this season. What? Yep. I believe the Browns win 5 games this season. Seriously, I think they do. But because they're playing well. They didn't just luck out a win. They're playing well. Well, let's see what happens. Mike follows that up with, is it bad that I kind of wish Superman was a Marvel character? I don't think he'd be getting this kind of neglect and disrespect on Feige's watch. You know, one of my frustrations with the DCU right now is, just Warner Brothers as a whole, because it's also the TV universe and the movie universe, is how much disrespect they are showing to the Superman character. It's Superman, the greatest of all superheroes. And you've disrespected him on TV. You're disrespecting him in the movies. I mean, I cannot believe how much flagrant disrespect they are showing the greatest comic book character of all time. It frustrates me, man. It completely frustrates me. And it's not just Feige. I don't think Universal would be showing Superman this much disrespect. I don't think Paramount would be showing Superman this much disrespect. Hell, I don't think Lionsgate would be showing Paramount this much disrespect. But it is, and I've gone on ad nauseum about how it frustrates me how much disrespect has been shown the greatest comic book character of all time. But anyway, that's just me. All right, Matt Brown writes, Avatar is my favorite TV show of all time. How will Netflix reimagine the shows? Lord of the Rings trilogy-like structure for their remake? Stay awesome. I don't think the animated show had any sort of feel to Lord of the Rings. It was his very own unique thing, which is part of what made it so successful. I really have no idea. I have no idea. We'll have to wait and see. The one thing we talked about this on the show the other day, the one thing people are getting very excited about is that the showrunners from the animated show are producers and showrunning this new live action show. And they get excited about that. And I say, well, there's 2 things to keep in mind, though, before you get too excited. Number 1, neither of these guys have ever done anything live action. They've never overseen anything live action before. They may not know one thing about producing live action. Thing number 2 is, the only thing they were involved with live action as the executive producers was The Last Airbender by M. Night Shyamalan. That I remember at the time, they're all talking that M. Night and them were constantly in collaboration, constantly talking in communication and blah, 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 blah. And look how that turned out. So they were the executive producers on the M. Night version of the movie. And that turned out crap. Now, there are differences between that situation and this one. And it's good news that they're involved. I'm just saying temper how excited you get about their involvement because number 1, they have no idea how to do live action. Number 2, they were involved in live action with one film and it was the movie version of The Last Airbender that everybody universally hates. And there are significant differences between the 2 situations. There are. I'm just saying temper your excitement a little bit. Just temper it a bit. That's all I'm saying. Brandon Martin writes, we know that if you could be an extra in a Star Wars film, you would. Damn right. But what about a spoof of Star Wars? Maybe a Spaceballs 2, would you do? Of course I would do it. Yeah, any movie fan would. Are you kidding? Of course we would. Even somebody who hates Star Wars would love to be an extra in a big Hollywood spoof movie. Like, whatever. I am no exception to that. I absolutely would. Connor Dixon writes, did you have nightmares from the Susie doll? Oh my God, yes. And you know what? Thank you to all you guys. I talked about yesterday that damn Susie doll, but it was actually called Talking Tina. I couldn't remember the name. The name of the doll isn't Susan. It was Talking Tina. And I've had so many people tweet me and email me links to videos of Talking Tina. I'm Talking Tina, and I'm starting to hate you. Like, I'm sitting there yesterday watching all these clips people are sending me, and I'm just freaking the hell out. I'm Talking Tina, and you better be nice to me. I'm Talking Tina, and I'm going to kill you. And all you sadistic SOBs sending me all these Talking Tina clips. It freaked me the hell out. But yes, it did give me nightmares. It did. Rick H. writes, did any comic book film have good romantic chemistry? Yes. Two really come to mind. Usually, romantic love interests in superhero movies do not work. One of the poster children for that was the love interest stuff they try to have between Thor and Jane. That never worked for me, but none of them do. There are two exceptions. One, and the best one, I totally loved the romantic chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone. I thought that was great. And despite all the other problems with The Amazing Spider-Man 2, that element, the dynamic between Peter and Gwen, was great. That part of it was great. Despite all the other shortcomings, that part was great. To me, that is the best love interest stuff I think there's ever been in a comic book film. I love that chemistry. It's one of my favorite things of those two Amazing Spider-Man movies. The other one that I've always loved right from film one was Tony and Pepper. Tony and Pepper. Gwyneth Paltrow and Robert Downey Jr., I just think they have a terrific dynamic on screen together. And the two of them just adore each other. I've been to several events with the two of them there, and they just adore each other. They're great, great friends, and it translates on screen. I've always loved that couple. I really have. So those are the two to me that I think have always kind of worked and stand as the exception. Most of the time, though, they're terrible. No Handlerin writes, I'd like to see a prequel Brainwashed Bucky show. Again, prequel. I don't know, man. I can't get on board with it. Like, don't get me wrong. If they did it, yeah, I'd watch it. Just like, yeah, if you do another backwards story going backwards in time Star Wars movie, yeah, I'll watch it. But I'm so sick and tired of prequel stuff. Move forward. That's my opinion at any rate. But listen, man, you would not be alone. I'm sure a lot of people would love to see that show. Rushil P. writes, hey, John, thank you for entertaining and informing me every day with your insights. Well, thanks so much, Rushil. It has really helped me get a better idea of the world of filmmaking. Well, thanks, man. And you know what? It's more the film fan community and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for being here and being a part of it. And thanks for saying such nice things. I appreciate that, man. We're glad to have you on board, dude. Jacob Silvers writes, I heard that the first half of The House with the Clock in Its Walls can be for young kids, but the second half is not for young kids. You know what? It is family-friendly horror. I would say this, though. Any family that's okay with their kids reading Goosebumps or things like that, I think it's fine. I'm not a parent, so I'm not speaking from a place of authority, but I think it's okay. I think kids can handle a little bit of horror. I think horror can be fun for kids, the right kind and done in the right way. But I'll just tell you, look, as a non-parent, so take my opinion for what it's worth, which isn't that much, but I gotta say, I never thought for a second, ooh, you can't bring your kids to this. Now, that doesn't mean every parent would be comfortable with it, but honestly, I never watched a moment of that film where I went, well, can't have kids watch this. Some will be a little spooky. I think it's fun scares for them. But again, that's a parent by parent basis. But I actually thought it was okay. I really did. By the way, I think Jacob is the one who broke in yesterday and let me know that, did you hear Daredevil has just been announced to coming out in October? So thank you for that too, Jacob. I'm Upset writes, thoughts on Ice Age films? Could we get another one? We could get another one. You know what? I like the first one. I did not like anything after that, though. I didn't like any of their films, any of the Ice Age films after that first one, though. To me, they were all really should have been straight to home video shop. But they kept making some money. And as long as these films are making money, yeah, you could see. I think they're out. I mean, I don't know where you go anymore with these things. They've just done just about everything they can. You can't even call it Ice Age anymore. But there could be another one. It's possible. Lou writes, why is it too late to move Aquaman if the marketing for the movie hasn't started yet? Just asking for a friend. You know, I just feel like at this point in the game, it's too late. We're now, let's see, October, November, we're less than 3 months. We are exactly 3 months away from the movie coming out. I believe it is too late. It's not impossible, though. It's not impossible. You could still move it. I think it's too late to do it. It's certainly too late to move it any earlier. Let's say that. It is absolutely too late to move the movie earlier. There is still possibilities here that you could move it back just to get away from that December 21st glut of films that are coming out. You could move further away. That's possible. Though you could move it into January, February. And it could really benefit from that move. But I still think if they were going to move it, I just feel like they would have moved it by now. You know me, I thought they should have moved this a long time ago. I think they should move it. I'm still hoping that they do. But I just have a feel like, no, they've got that date, and they're going to stick to that date. And we'll see what happens. But it's not impossible. Just because I'm saying it's too late doesn't mean it's impossible. Not at all. And if it does happen, I think it's more likely you could see it moving back, but I think it's incredibly unlikely at this point, now just 3 months away, that they move it any earlier. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. What do you guys think? Jump in the comment section. Leave me your thoughts. All right, guys, just time for a couple more questions, and then I got to run. Marcus Robert Johnson writes, catch Kevin McAllister in 15 minutes for $1,000 in his home. Kevin has 1 hour prep time. Or survive 6 hours in the Hunger Games dome from the Predator. In the Hunger Games dome from the Predator for $100 million, weapons included. Well, considering I would completely, absolutely, beyond any shadow of a doubt, die in the second scenario, 6 hours in the Hunger Games dome from the Predator for $100 million, weapons included. Yeah, I have very, very little doubt I would die. The $100 million ain't going to do me much. Catch Kevin McAllister in a Home Alone house for 15 minutes for $1,000? Okay, you know what? I may get some battered and bruised and bad things, but I'm most likely going to survive the encounter. So I will go with the first one, because that second one, I am most certainly going to die. All right, let's see. Last question of the day. Where'd he go? There he is. Froygon Jin writes, I like that name. Disney Play needs a show about the Valkyries. The last episode should be their final battle against Hela, and the entire series should be shot with the same visual style done in Ragnarok. That is there are two problems I have with that. But first of all, clearly, Froy, you share my love of the Valkyrie. I think the Valkyrie are great, and I do want to explore that a little bit more. The two significant problems are this. Number one, for me, this is just my personal thing. Again, it's more prequel. Everything's prequel. I'm tired of sick prequels. Why is everything backwards storytelling? Anyway. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have merit. The bigger problem you'd run into there is while they are going to put good money into these shows, something like a show about the Valkyrie, that's really expensive. Because you're talking about the setting of the show. Like with a Loki, you can do the setting anywhere. Scarlet Witch, hey, it's just in Manhattan or something like whatever, just in a town in a street. But with Valkyrie, it's all visual effects. You're on Asgard. You're like in these realms. You're like, it just. Now, at least the Valkyrie aren't CGI creatures. They're just human-looking creatures. You got that going for you. But it just strikes me that would be an incredibly expensive thing. Look, again, it's one of those things where I don't want prequel stuff. But yes, if they did it, a Valkyrie thing is a pretty cool idea. Because that one scene in Ragnarok, when you're seeing the Valkyrie going into their battle against Hela, is an awesome visual. I mean, it looks amazing. And the mythology of the Valkyrie is certainly something worth exploring. Again, it's not my first choice because, again, with prequel, but also I think it's a little bit unlikely just because I think the price tag associated with a show like that would be like off the charts. I think it would be off the charts. And I don't know that Valkyrie is as popular a fan character as certainly not as much as a Loki is, and probably not as much as Scarlet Witch is. But I will admit, I'm with you for it. If they did put it out, I'd be interested. I would be at least be interested. You know what? Let me just take two more here, because why not? Catman writes, love The House with the Clock in Its Walls. Saw it in IMAX, and they showed Thriller in IMAX 3D before it, and it was awesome. Yeah, I actually, when I went to go see it last night, the app gave me the option. Do you just want to go see the movie? Or do you want to go see the movie with Thriller playing in IMAX 3D in front of it? I wasn't all that interested in the Thriller IMAX 3D, so I just went to go see it plus I'm not a big fan of 3D. So I just went to go see the normal screening of House with the Clock in Its Walls. But I've heard from several people that they had a lot of fun watching that Michael Jackson thing. And I'm glad you liked the House with the Clock in Its Walls too. Like I said, I didn't love it, but I thought I was going to hate it. And it's not that bad. It's pretty good. Not great, not memorable. I'm not going to recommend everybody rush out and see it, but if it's something that you think you might be interested in, check it out. I ended up having a reasonably good time with it. I'm glad you did too, Catman. All right, let's see. Marvel D. Law writes, A Quiet Place finally will be released in Japanese theaters. I hate Japan. Is it worth watching in theaters or just watch and stream? Oh, it's definitely worth watching in theaters, man. Absolutely 100% worth watching in theaters. Guaranteed. You will not be sorry. You will not be sorry. See it in theaters. And look, and if all you can do is watch it at home, that's fine too. You're still going to love it. But see it in theaters, man, because it's the atmosphere of it, the quietness of it, and the tension. It's just in a theater it's one of those movies I think you got to experience in a theater with a live audience. I really do. It's a very unique, especially because of the silence of the film. It's a very, very unique film in that way. And I'd say, yeah, man, check that thing out in theaters if you get a chance. Nicholas Pereira writes, glad Captain Marvel trailer introduced her as any trailer would have introduced a male character. No punchline on the fact that she's a woman or trying anything. Well, the one thing I will say, they did one little wink to the fact that, hey, highlighting it's a female lead. This is the first, new era of MCU films. The first that's actually a lead female character. Yes, you had Wasp and Ant-Man and the Wasp, but it's Ant-Man's movie. We all know that. This is the first one. Out of 20 films, finally they've done one that has a lead female character. Or where a female character is the lead title character. It took them 20 films to do it, but they finally got one. The one little nod they do is when the word comes up and you should see her first, and then it expands into something hero, whatever. That is the one thing they do in it. But, I mean, yeah, finally, it only took 20 movies to finally have one with a title female character in the lead. But they're there, and it's a good thing. All right, Curtis Lopez writes, saw House with the Clock in Its Walls in IMAX with Thriller 3D. Seeing that classic music video on the big screen was magnificent. You know what? Now that you guys are talking about it, maybe I regret not going to see that. You're making me regret it now, because you guys are all talking about how great it was to see that. Maybe I should have. Maybe I'll go back, just use my A-list. If I got a spare movie on my list, I'll just go in and watch the Thriller part and then leave, because I've already seen the movie. But, yeah, you guys might be talking me into it. Curtis Lopez follows up, the trailer to J-Lo's new movie, Second Act, bothers me. It's trying to endorse women empowerment, yet in the movie, she lies her way to success. Hey, look, I'm going to tell you what. What bothers me about the trailer, and I like J-Lo, and it's got my boy, Milo Ventimiglia in it, and I love Milo. My one big thing with the trailer wasn't even about, it's trying to promote women empowerment, which is a good thing, but it's doing it by way of being deceitful and lying. But the thing that really bothered me about the trailer, it felt like the message of the trailer was, education's dumb. You don't need education. And this notion of, I'm just as qualified for a big executive job, even though I've never went to college. Just as my stuff is just as valuable as somebody who went to school for 9 years, studied business, got an MBA, did all the hard work and all that kind of stuff. And it seemed like the underlying message of the movie was, education is dumb. Education is stupid. Education is not dumb. And education is not stupid. Is it the be-all and end-all of everything in life? No. Can you be a successful person without education? Yes. But there was this message in the trailer that, an employer who's more concerned about what the education that a person has. Of course, employers are interested in the education somebody has. Of course they are. That doesn't mean that there shouldn't be opportunities for other people to show what they got. No. But that's the part of the trailer that bothered me. It seemed like, I'm glad I'm not a parent with a young teenager here watching this trailer where the message is, no education needed. There's a difference between saying education is dumb and saying, hey, you didn't get an education, you can still achieve great things. That's a great message. That message is value. Hey, you didn't have the opportunity to have an education, you can still achieve great things. Of course you can. But there's a difference between saying that and saying education's dumb. It's useless. It's not useless. As somebody who has some education and seeing how it has benefited me in many different areas of my life, I'm going to tell you right now, education's not useless. And that's the one part that kind of bothered me a bit. All right, last question of the day, and then we're wrapping it up. Ark Agil writes, Kong versus Godzilla is going to end with Kong standing over Godzilla's body. Kong's about to stab Godzilla with the tip of a skyscraper, but then Godzilla says, you have to save Mothra. Ba-bum bing. All right. That's good. I like that. I thought you were going to say Martha, and then when you threw in the Mothra, okay. All right. I'm reading your message, and I'm all getting ready to say, oh, come on, man, that's lame. And then I got to the end part, and you say Mothra. I'm like, all right. You got me on board at the last line, man. You got me on board at the last line. That's clever. All right, guys. That will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you so much for joining me here. Don't forget, I'll be back a little bit later this afternoon with Open Mic. And of course, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for the honor of having you joining me here and being part of the film fan community. My name's John Campea, and until my next video, bye-bye.